In this video, I'm going to show you how I modded my FlySim setup with 3D printing. So I got Microsoft Flight Simulator for Christmas. This is something I've wanted for a long time, especially to use with virtual reality. After buying the software, I very quickly realized that in order for it to work properly, I would need some peripherals. It's impossible to properly fly Microsoft Flight Simulator just using VR controllers. So after doing a bit of research, I invested in the Logitech yoke and throttle set. I realized that I would probably also need some rudders to control the plane while taxiing it to the runway. So I also bought the Logitech rudder system. So now I had all the gear that I needed, but I had nowhere to mount it. It just didn't really work properly on my desk. So after a quick search on Amazon, I found a relatively inexpensive stand that I could mount all the gear on. Now, the problem with this stand is that it's not really built for flight simulators. It's made for racing sims. And so I wasn't really sure the peripherals that I bought would fit properly. But given that it was Amazon and that they have a rather liberal return policy, I figured that it wouldn't hurt to try. I also thought that if I needed to mod the stand, it would give me a fun project to work on. And since I have a few 3D printers, I thought that I would be able to use my 3D printing skills to mod the stand in whatever way I needed. So I ordered the stand, and when it arrived, I put it together. Now, I had to do a couple of mods, but nothing too extreme. So let me walk you through the mods that I made using 3D printing. First of all, I wanted to have a way to mount an extra battery directly on the stand. So a while back, I designed a holder for a battery, and I was able to mod this to fit right on the stand. And it works really well. The second thing I wanted was to have a place to put my virtual reality controllers. So again, with a bit of playing with FreeCAD, I was able to come up with an extension to the stand. Now here's the thing. I'm able to use the battery holder as a place for the controller, and then the extension is a place for the second controller. So this works really well. Now, another thing that I realized very quickly is that I would need to have access to a keyboard. There was no obvious place to mount the keyboard on the stand. The most ideal place to put it was on top of the yoke, but just putting it on the yoke itself didn't work very well as it wasn't very stable, and the angle was not ideal for proper use. So again, I went into FreeCAD and I was able to design a keyboard holder that works very well. The keyboard is angled just right and is easy to access and see. It is also very stable. Finally, I wanted a place to mount a tablet that I could easily see when I was in VR. Now, you might be asking how I intended to do this, how I was going to be able to see it while I was in VR. And I will get to that shortly. I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. In any event, after a couple of iterations for the tablet stand, I was able to come up with the design that works really well. The tablet is stable and doesn't need to be Velcroed or anything onto the holder. So this is the final look of the rig. It is fairly bare-boned compared to some of the things that you see online, but it works reasonably well, and I'm sure that in time I'll be modding it even more. All right, so at this point, let's turn to the computer and I'll walk you through the software that I use to fly. And then I'll set up a quick flight and show you what it's like to fly in virtual reality. So at this point, I'm just going to walk you through all the different pieces of software that I use in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And the point of this is to really show you how the 3D printed parts that I made work in conjunction with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, I need to tell you that all the software that I'm going to show you is open source, except for one. Air Manager, which is a very, very important piece of software, does cost money, but there is a demo mode which works very well with what I need to do. So let's just walk through these various pieces of software quickly, and then I'll take you through a quick flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So Air Manager is an interesting piece of software, and what it does essentially is recreate the various cockpits of different airplanes. So you use monitors to put the various panels and gauges and instruments on the LCD monitors, and you can interact with these various instruments, and you can recreate the look of different planes very simply by using LCD monitors. It's a very, very good piece of software. They do give you a demo version, and it works. And I'm just going to show you how I use the demo version with my setup. All right, the next piece of software is open source, and it's very, very powerful. It's called Little Nav Map. And I started using Little Nav Map right from the beginning. And I really, really love it because it allows you to create flight plans, and it allows you to bring your flight plans into VR. And you can use the flight plan basically to navigate from one point to another. So it's a very, very handy piece of software. It's feature rich. There is a bit of a learning curve, but it works really well. And I highly recommend it. It's excellent. Okay, the next piece of software is called Open Kneeboard. And I'm using this software to create a pass-through effect. So basically, I'm using it to cut a hole through the VR world to see into the real world. What I've done here is create a PNG image that is in the shape of a Cessna 172 cockpit. So basically, I can see through the world, and I can place this right along the cockpit so that it looks like it's a part of the plane. So I need to show you what this looks like, but this works really well because it allows you to control the real life instruments that you have in the real world, while at the same time not really losing the sense of immersion in the VR world. So this is a really handy piece of software, and it works really well. And I'll probably do another video on this later on because there's a lot to say about this piece of software and how I made this work. All right, the final piece of software is called MSFS add-on linker, and this piece of software is essentially a way of bringing together all the plugins and just running Microsoft Flight Simulator and running everything at the same time without having to go to each different plugin separately. It's very, very good. It works really well. Highly recommend it. Again, there's a bit of a learning curve here, but it's fairly easy once you get it going. All right, so now what I'm going to do is basically run all the different pieces of software, and I will load a flight plan into Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then I'll take you through a quick flight and show you how the 3D printed parts that I designed and all the peripherals work together to create a really immersive kind of feel. All right, so at this point, I've got everything running. The only thing I need to do is load a flight plan into Microsoft Flight Simulator and then go and fly in VR. So basically, I've got the Air Manager working, and this panel is outside on the tablet. Now, I forgot to mention in the clip that I made before that the way I'm passing it to the tablet is by using a very handy piece of software called Space Desk. Space Desk essentially takes a tablet or another monitor and allows you to connect to the computer wirelessly. So I've got a very simple tablet that I don't use, an Acer tablet, and I essentially modded it to be used with the flight sim, and I'm making it into a separate monitor by using this piece of software. And I'm passing this panel to the tablet. So that's working. I've also got a little nav map working, and I've got a flight plan that I'm going to load into Microsoft Flight Simulator. And then I've got the Microsoft Flight Simulator working, of course, and I also have Open Kneeboard working for the pass-through. So the only thing that's left now is for me to load a flight plan and then get into VR and fly. So I'm going to do that by clicking on World Map, going to More, Load More, and load from this PC. I'm going to go to where the flight plan is. And this is a flight plan that I saved in little nav map, and I put it in my D drive. And the flight that we're going to take is from Stony Creek to St. Catharines. So I'm going to click on that, and here's the flight plan, and it matches the flight plan from little nav map, as you can see. So all we need to do now is hit fly, and it'll load the flight plan, at which point we'll just go to VR, and I can go on the flight and take you along with me. All right, so everything is ready. We can get on the plane, and we can go and fly. So let's do it. All right, so right now I'm in VR. Specifically, I am in virtual desktop, which allows me to connect my computer to the Quest 3 virtual headset. So let me just change monitors here, and you can see me on the runway waiting to take off. And the way that I will do this is by hitting the Control and Tab key on my keyboard. So right now I can't see my keyboard, but if I tap the headset twice, it will give me my keyboard. I can see through the pass-through of the Quest 3. So I'm just going to put my fingers on Control and Tab, and then I'll go back into virtual reality, and I'll hit the Control and Tab keys, and it will take me into the VR environment. Okay, so now we're in VR, and as you can see, I've got the pass-through in the shape that I showed you before. I need to line it up with the cockpit, which I will do in a minute. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is just hit the space key in order to line up the plane with the runway. And now I can use this key, which I set with the software, to line up the pass-through. And I'm just going to essentially bring it down until it's kind of lined up with the cockpit, and everything is nicely laid out. And as you can see, what I was trying to do is basically create a PNG file or a pass-through file that is kind of in the shape of the cockpit. I can probably do better, but this will work. Okay, so at this point we're ready to take off, and the first thing I'll need to do is release the parking brake. And now I will just move this out of the way over here. I'm also going to open up a little nav map so that I can use that as a guide for when I fly. So I just click on this button, and it opens up a little nav map. I'll put it over here. And as you can see, my plane is shown on the little nav map on the runway,
ready to take off. So let's do that. Let's take off. I'm going to close the menu up there. Excellent. And we're ready to go. So let me just increase the throttle and we'll be on our way. All right, here we go. And lift off. Excellent. As you can see, the altitude meter is showing us going up, so it's working just fine. The pass-through works really well, and if you want to turn off the pass-through, you do that by hitting this button here, and you can see the VR cockpit. But I like to see the real world, so I'm just going to turn that back on.
Hamilton approach Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray
Okay,
Golf Sierra Alpha
so we're going to go about 1.48 nautical miles in that direction, and then we're going to turn, and I'm going to be using a little nav map as a guide for where I should go. All right, so let's increase altitude a bit more. Basically, I want to get to 2,500 feet.
Roger, Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Okay, I'm going to start turning now in this direction. Excellent. Lovely. This is working very nicely. I'm going to straighten out the plane. Okay. And as you can see, we're right on the line there. So the flight plan acts as a kind of guide for when I'm actually flying, which is kind of nice. So basically, when I fly, I just like to look at the surroundings. It's very realistic. It's hard to describe what it's like when you're actually in VR, but it feels really very real, and it feels like you're actually flying. So if I look down, I can see the landscape and the lake. This is Lake Ontario, of course, and we're just gonna head towards that key over there, and you know, we're gonna travel for 17.67 nautical miles, and then we'll change directions a little bit to go to the airport and the runway. So it's a very short flight, but just it's going to give you a sense of what it's like. So this never really gets boring. It never gets tired. It's always amazing that we have this kind of technology at our disposal, and that, you know, it really is available to, you know, anyone. It's not inexpensive, but it's not crazy expensive or completely out of reach. If you really want to get into VR and into flight simulations, it's definitely possible. So I just wanted to mention, of course, how well the 3D printed sort of mods are working. So as you can see, the keyboard is working well. It is nice and solid, and the tablet looks great the way it's placed. And I've got access to the controllers and the mouse here, so everything is working really well, and everything looks I think really good. So this is something I wouldn't be able to do without a 3D printer. So a 3D printer and 3D printing in general just opens up a whole new world for making mods like this. So if you want to change something, or if you want to build something, it's really easy to do so if you have a bit of computer-aided design knowledge. Even if you don't, it's actually not that hard. You can always probably find something online that will do what you want to do. So all is looking good. And what I'm going to try to do, of course, is land without crashing. Just have a nice, soft landing, and that's the goal. Nothing too fancy. So this is a nice day. The weather that you're seeing here is live weather, so you're seeing what it's actually like where I'm flying. So the landscape looks really good. It's pretty sharp, and it's looking quite real. If you look out the window, it feels like you're actually flying. It's really hard to explain what it's like in VR. You kind of have to be there to get a sense of what it's actually like. But it does feel, as close to real as possible in a virtual environment. You can also see, of course, the shadow of the plane on the ground, which is kind of cool. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. So we're gonna start descending now. We're pretty close to the airport. We're gonna make a nice, gentle descent. So yeah, we're getting close to where we need to veer to the left. So I'm just gonna slowly go down. We're pretty accurate in terms of our flight. We're right on the line, which is great. Okay, so there's the airport. I've got 4.15 nautical miles until I reach the runway. So let's just turn down the motor a bit. Not too fast, not too much. We don't want to go down too quickly. Alright, we're going to line ourselves up with the runway and make a nice, gentle landing. Alright. So I'm going down slowly. You don't want to go down too fast.
Rouge 1624, climb and maintain flight level 320. Climb and maintain flight level 320, Rouge 1624.
Okay, looking good. Looking good. Once we get really close to the runway, I'm just gonna pull the throttle right back. I'm in fact going to lower the flaps even more, all the way down for the landing. There we go. And I'm going to decrease the engine. Line up the plane with the runway. I just love the way the water, moves passing this river here. Okay, anyway, now I have to concentrate on the landing, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to slow down the plane and just move down slowly. I don't want to be going down too hot. I just want to slide down gently. So let's just see if I can do that. Okay. Nice. Excellent. Okay, I need to concentrate now.
Charlie Yankee Sierra November, traffic Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha 1 miles southwest, 200 feet inbound to land runway 24.
Okay, I did it.
All right, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a bit long, and it was all over the place with flight simulation and 3D printing. I just want to remind you that what I was trying to do in this video is basically illustrate how 3D printing can really be helpful and how it really helped me with my flight sim setup. Anyway, before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It really helps me a lot with the YouTube algorithm, so I would really appreciate it if you consider subscribing to my channel before you go. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it really helps me a lot. So, until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon for another video. Bye for now.